Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters, amongst the Arab, it was a common practice that when a child was born, they would send that child off to a veterinarian, and it was considered something of nobility. So it was considered something of high rank, high status. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has the highest rank, who has the highest status from the very first day till the day of resurrection, he will have the highest status in this dunya. Now it befits him that he is also taken care of by a veterinarian. However, he was an orphan. When the veterinarians came and they looked at him, they asked about the father, they inquired about the father, and when they found out the father was not alive, he was an orphan, they thought to themselves, who's going to recompensate them for this? So they would leave this child. They would leave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, all of the nurses, they were able to get a nursling other than Halimahtus Sa'diyah. Now she did not want to leave when all her colleagues had a nursling. She did not want to leave empty-handed. So she asked her husband that, can we take this child with us? So her husband said, perhaps because of this child, Allah will put blessings in our life. So let's take this child with us. So they took this child with us. While they're traveling back, on the very next morning, her husband says that I already see the blessings of this child in our life, and he had a feeling that in the future there would be also blessings for them through this child. So while they're traveling on their way back on the donkey, now her donkey is ahead of all of her colleagues, and her colleagues, their donkeys are trying to catch up to the donkey of Halimahtus Sa'diyah, but they're not able to, and they're astonished. Her colleagues are astonished, so they ask her, is this the same donkey that you brought with you? She says yes, and they're astonished even more. How could this be? That while they were going there, the pace of this donkey was completely different, and they're heading back, and this donkey, no other donkey is able to catch up to this donkey. And similarly, miracles upon miracles followed their life. When they reached back to Banu Sa'd, this land was known as a barren land. So when sheep would go out, they would come out empty stomach, and they were not able to milk the sheep because they hadn't eaten anything throughout the day, other than the sheep of Halimahtus Sa'diyah. Her sheep would go out, come back, and the stomach of the sheep would be full, and they were able to milk the sheep, whereas her neighbors, their sheep would come empty stomach. So these blessings continued through their life, through taking this orphan, through taking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now 2 years had passed, and they took this child back, and they said, we want to keep this child for longer. This child has given us many blessings. We want to keep this child for longer. So the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, you could keep this child for longer. So they kept this child for longer, and one day their own son, who was also the same age of Rasulullah, similar age to what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, he saw that two men came dressed in white, and they laid Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on his back, and they opened his chest and they took out something from there. They opened his stomach and they took out something from there. So the child went to Halimahtus Sa'diyah and told her what he saw today. So Halimahtus Sa'diyah was worried. Her husband was worried. So they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam what happened. So he explained to them that two men came dressed in white. They laid me on the ground and they took something out of my stomach and then put it back. Now they were worried that perhaps it's some jinns. So they decided to take this child back. And when they went back, the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, why have you brought the child back? Last time you wanted to keep it for longer. Why have you brought the child back? So they said, we're worried about the health of the child. We're worried something bad might come his way. So the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, what really happened? Tell me what really happened. So they told her that this child, two men came and they opened the stomach of this child and they took out something and then they put it back. We're afraid that some shayateen are trying to possess him. So the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, don't worry about this. This child is no average child. While this child was in my stomach, I did not feel a weight in my stomach. I did not feel any extra burden. She said, when this child came out, while I was delivering this child supported his own weight, and he looked up to the sky. So nothing will harm this child. This is a blessed child. So they took this child back and they kept him for some more time. Now, my brothers and sisters, these were the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, through our hadith, we know that a child, he is a blessing for us. A child, he is a blessing for us. So no matter how overwhelmed we are with children, sometimes we get overwhelmed and we feel very tired and very weary that I am committed to this child for the next 12, 13, 14 years. But remember, they are the source of our barakah. And we should look at them as blessings. And perhaps we should think that because of this child, I have a healthy marriage. I have a healthy life. There are people who have been married for 20, 25 years and are not able to have children. Ask them what they would give to have a child. So these children are barakah for us. And we should look at them as barakah. And we should try to do our best to take care of them and to mold them into the best personalities and best kind of people who will tomorrow help benefit the Ummah.